Okay, there we are, and we're live.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's officially Caffeine and Confidence Week. Thank you for joining. Get your favorite cup with your favorite beverage. Remember, there's no judgment. I have mine here. I don't know if you all can see it. Yep, there you go. So my cup, I got it from a friend. It says, "Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, up in here." So, yeah, one of my favorite cups because the corporate struggle was real at the time. All right. So, with this caffeine and confidence, this is about creating a space for real conversations that pour into your confidence, your voice, and your visibility. So, again, welcome to everybody who's joining us live. We're on multiple platforms. Very excited about this. This is our first one. My name is Nicole Gray, and I'm the founder of Renewed Impact. And I help women take up space, speak up, and lead louder, something I'm very passionate about. So, very excited about this. And joining me is my fabulous partner in all things caffeine and confidence this week is the dynamic Christina Green, who is nicknamed, by the way, as her clients call her, the generational translator. Get that. Generational translator. Okay. So she helps organizations move beyond the hand me down leadership and outdated systems we've all have come to loathe. And as a founder of Cardigan Careers, she helps leaders improve their generational intelligence, which is awesome, to build workplace cultures that retain talent and thrive across every level. So, all right, Christina, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing fantastic, and I've been waiting for this for quite some time. So, so Nicole, and I want to just give a shout out to you because this was your brainchild, right? Just a few short weeks ago, and so we are now bringing this together. So, thank you for making me part of this, and so lovely to have our guests here today, and many of our other guests this week. So, all right. So without further
Awesome.
ado, I want to introduce you to the remarkable Portia Mount. She is an entrepreneur, an author, and a keynote speaker. And all of this to say to minimize it, right, would be unheard of. She is the founder of Mount Creative LLC, a boutique fractional chief marketing officer advisory, where she provides marketing and executive coaching services. And let me tell you, I am in awe of Portia because not only is she a one-time TEDx speaker, she is a twice TEDx speaker. And so that's my next milestone. So Portia, I cannot wait to hear all of your wonderful things that you have to share with us. But and as if that wasn't enough, she's also to the author of, get this, and I love this title, Kick Some Glass. The 10 ways women succeed at work on their own terms. And yes, I will be dropping that link in the comments so you can everyone run to Amazon and grab your copy. And she's also to the creator. Are you busy enough, girl? She's the creator and the host of the Ungovernable Women podcast. So add me as a subscriber because I cannot wait to follow the heck out of you, Portia. So, Portia, thank you so much for joining us on kicking us off on this week of caffeine and confidence. And I cannot wait to hear all of the gems that you have to drop and to share with this audience. So, thank you for coming, everyone. Portia Mount.
Thank you, Christina and Nicole. It's so great to be here with you both. I love connecting and being with fabulous women. So I'm super happy to be here with you.
Well, we are excited that you're here. And we're going to kick it off, Portia, with our first question is, what does confidence look like for you right now?
Yeah, I think confidence for me looks like the ability to have a vision for myself. Like we were talking just in the green room about just former corporate lives and really having a bigger vision for myself and pursuing that. And I think that's such one of the things I love speaking to other leaders about, their professionals, especially women, is thinking about where in life can you make an impact? Where can you, we're only here for such a short time. But oftentimes fear or uncertainty holds us back. And so for me, in this stage of my life, confidence is about setting that vision for where I want to go. And this it's doing things like this, to be honest, and then and going for it, knowing that it won't be perfect every single time, but each time I get out there, I am being more true to myself and who I am. And I hope I can lead by example, by what I do.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
great. I mean, I certainly can understand that is by being the light for others, right? And helping others to see, it's not about sheltering that light and making sure that we have an opportunity for others to see that because representation matters, right? In every space that we're in.
That's
So
exactly right.
let me ask you a question as far as with what is something you would think or that you would say out of your experience throughout your career, where you are today, what is one thing that you have had to unlearn to be more confident?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've had to unlearn is worrying about what other people think. And I know this sounds
Mm,
very basic, but think about it. We have our friends, we have our families, we have maybe the culture we grew up in. Those mental models of what will other people think can really stifle your own sense of confidence. It's easy, and oftentimes I think especially listen, I like to joke I'm the oldest child, so I grew up very dutiful and being a good listener and following the rules. And one of the things that, unlearning was it is about making myself happy. I don't know who said this. Maybe it was Viola Davis. If you have to choose between disappointing somebody else, disappointing others, or disappointing yourself, disappoint other people. And that resonates for me because
mhm.
that's a really hard thing to unlearn. I think, especially for women, because we're socialized to be pleasers, to make other people happy. So that's been a long process for me, included therapy. And I feel like at this stage, I'm finally there where it's like I am responsible for my choices. I'm accountable to myself. Not that I don't have a community and family and kids I take care of, but I'm really accountable to myself in terms of achieving or doing the things that are most meaningful to me, where I am trying to make an impact. And so that's a real process that a lot of us have to go through, is like if you have to choose, to make yourself, to disappoint someone else or others, disappoint other people. And I think that's really given me so much more confidence than what I could have even expected.
I love that you said that because I think, excuse me, for me, I've had to learn how to be uncomfortable.
Mm,
And because I think too, as like you were saying, I was nodding like a bobblehead because I'm also the oldest, and and a girl, so you know how that is. It's like you just kind of step into where it's not about perfection, but it was being that model for your siblings, and
that's right.
then again being the woman. I know for my dad, he wanted me to be and all that. So as I've gotten older, I've had to learn to where it's okay to be uncomfortable. Like every
Yep.
situation's not going to be comfortable. Like even before we started here in the green room, we knew there was like a little delay, and it was like, okay, but we'll make it work. Like everything doesn't have to be perfect, just do it. And that helps me with my confidence, where I'm okay that everything's not going to be 100% or but I tried it. So that should be more than enough.
That's exactly right, Nicole. And in fact, one of the things I share with some of the leaders I'm privileged to coach is, if it doesn't feel a little bit uncomfortable, you're probably not stretching yourself. Our growth edge, we get on our growth edge where it's where we're trying new things, we're trying new behaviors, we're learning new skills, we're exploring new ideas, and they're not all going to work out, and some of them are going to maybe even fail, but that's where the greatness and the magic happens. And so that discomfort is, in some ways, should be a comforting feeling, right? Because it's like, oh, okay, I'm pushing myself, I'm not just allowing myself to be too comfortable and accepting of the status quo, whatever that status quo is for you.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, Portia, when do you feel most visible or impactful in your life, whether it's work, or just your everyday life, like being a mom or whatever? When do you feel most visible?
Yeah, I mean, I think so professionally, I feel most visible when I see, people that I love. I feel like being in service to others, and I have been out in these professional streets for a really, really long time. And so we won't even say how many years at this point, but one of the coolest things is to see people who have been part of the teams that I've led be really successful and email me. I can't even tell you. Every month or so, I still hear from people that used to be on my teams and tell me what an influence I had on them. And I love that because I do believe that legacy matters. And I don't mean legacy in like capital L, like I'm going to have my name on a
Right.
building legacy, but it's really about, being a good person, doing good things that have, you've heard me say this word impact, because this is like a
Yeah.
big mantra of mine, is like, where can you make an impact? And most of us we have a gift to give somewhere that will make an impact. And so for me, that's where I feel most visible professionally. And then I'm also a mom to two kids and two fur kids. I've got two dogs. And so that's I think that visibility there is really about helping. It's, we have the incredible privilege, if you're a parent, to have these children who have chosen you and their life, and to help them shape them into being the people they're meant to be. So I know I don't get it right every
Mhm.
single time, but it is great to just watch my children grow up. And I left my corporate career about a year and a half ago, and so I have time to parent differently and to see my kids differently, slow down a little bit, really connect with them. I've got a 15-year-old son. Any of you know who have teens, that is a crazy life stage. And then I
My
got this
God.
like, no limit soldier little 9-year-old, and who I'm just fighting for my life to raise. Who knows? Like I'm just hanging on for life, dear God. Help me, Lord. Hanging on for dear life with that one. But it's like you see these things, your children grow, and you're like, you know what, like. I, I'm doing good. It's like
Yeah.
each generation tries to do it a little bit better than the last, and we try to learn. And so on the balance, I feel like my husband and I are doing a pretty good job. Now, I don't need if my daughter's teacher happens to be taking a break and watching this, don't call me, because I know, like, my daughter cuts up. She's a child, she cuts up. And so, but on the whole, though, I think we're still doing pretty good. But she does cut up, and I don't need any calls or DMs about that, because I know.
That is hilarious. I know what you mean. I also have a 9-year-old. He has a field trip today, and I was like doing the mom stuff, stay with your group. If you have to go to the bathroom, tell your teacher. Da, da. And he's like, Mom, yeah, I got it.
I
Like,
know,
calm
yeah.
down.
I
And
know
I'm
that.
like, okay, I know you probably do, and I appreciate that. I said, but I always tell him, but it's in the mom handbook, so let me finish. And he's always like, oh.
But don't you love the confidence? I will just say, like, when I look, we were talking about confidence. When I look at my 9-year-old daughter, especially, I can say pretty confidently that I was not that confident not
Yeah.
at that age. Like, she just walks in the world so differently. And it's like, on the one hand, it drives me crazy, because it's like she just sort of feels like the whole world's her oyster. But then also, how cool is that, right? That, like, this
Yeah.
is not, she doesn't think that there are limits that she should have. She doesn't think about what she can't do. And my goal is for her to continue to grow up with that mental model of, like,
Yes.
if to be fully understand who she is, and to walk in the world that way. So, and from that respect, I love it, even though she's got a hard head, sometimes. But, like, I love that this is hardwired into her, and I wish that for more girls too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that she thinks the world is her oyster. All these kids should feel that. So I love that. I love that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And, and some of the points that you're bringing up, Portia, I find that in the work I do with across the generations, people, I'll say, especially like our generation, right? Gen X, we tend to feel some kind of way about Gen Z kind of stepping into their own and exercising that empowerment and doing so in the space where like to your point, we didn't feel like we had that voice, right? We didn't have the ability to, to kind of bring it into that environment because, there's a hierarchy of, your elders within the workplace and, feeling whether or not you could tap into it. So in many ways, there's like this animosity that's just been brewing for a couple decades to say, who do you think you are coming in here with that chip on your shoulder? Now, some people have the right to say that, right? Because it depends on what chip they're bringing, into that work environment. Now, what advice would you say? Because as parents to these next generations that are coming in, what advice would you give to some of them, or really actually anyone from our age and from any generation, right? Stepping into the workplace, stepping into a new role, even just stepping into tomorrow, Tuesday, with a different attitude,
Yeah.
right? Someone who was ready to kind of start stepping into their confidence. What advice would you give them and kind of how to approach that mindset? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things. I think especially for those of us who are Gen X or you've got your elder millennials, one I would say is let's make space. Let's make space for these for youngsters who are coming in. It's like if you think about it, we were not digital natives, right? My son cannot believe that like we did not have internet when we first started. He was like, "How did you talk to?" Like we didn't have mobile phones until we were in our like 20s. And he's like, "How did you talk to each other?" I was like, "Well, you would say, I'll call you at a specific time." And then if they weren't there, you would try to call them back.
It's like we had our stone tablet and we were just typing on it.
Like, that is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, like don't let me get on a tangent here. I showed him one of those old rotary phones. We went to this, and he was like, "How did you?" He's like, "What? What?" I said, "We had a little phone book, and we would write the person's name, and then you memorized everything. The other thing is you memorized everything." But I share this example though. But also, it's like there are real like we are now working in multi-generational
Yes.
environments, right? And so and I think a lot about this is not a political comment, but I think about like our all of our political representatives, and there's like all these incredible young people who are trying to come up. And I do think so one, those of us who are older, Gen X or older millennial, we need to make space, and we need to one, respect the fact that they're coming a lot of times because of us, of who their parents were. They come into the workplace with a different kind of attitude. Oftentimes they are more confident. They because they came up during like very high contact parenting, right? Like we Gen Xers basically like raised ourselves. And if you think
Yes.
about it, they grew up sort of a little bit more, pampered's probably not the right word, but in many cases, right? Not all cases, many cases, a lot more attention. And so they just, there's a level of like, I think that puts people, especially older, especially like really old Gen Xers or boomers, they're really put out by like the sense of quote entitlement. And what I would say is rather than get offended by it, be curious about it. I'm a big believer in multi-generational friendships. I love that some of my younger friends are like, well, of course I would take all of my PTO. Who wouldn't take all their PTO? Whereas if you think about it, like we would never ever
Yeah.
take all of our PTO because then we were worried about people thinking of us as being unserious. And so I say, I don't know that younger generations need more help with confidence. I do think probably where they do need help is translating their environments they're in so they can be successful. I'm reading all these articles about their, Gen Z or like they're getting fired all the time. And you know what I would say is shame on us though, who are not coaching and providing guidance and saying, hey, you know what, rather than like letting your boss know at the last minute that you're going to take 7 days off or 10 days off, like, here's a way to do, like, you could take your vacation, you should, and also show that you care about the team and making sure that your work gets done by letting them know in advance. Like ask your boss, how much time in advance do I need, do you need to know I'm taking PTO, et cetera. So like, I I don't know that it's a confidence thing. I think it's more like, honestly, we probably could learn a lot from them. It's really more about like how do we help them navigate in some of these environments that frankly are still pretty much hardwired toward an older style of working. Did I just like totally mutilate your question and flip your question around? But it's like it's something I think about a lot because we need new ideas and fresh blood, and we can't expect everyone to come into these environments and conform to the way we want it to be. And yet every workplace, every organization has rules, written and unwritten, and helping, especially I think the younger generation, be successful in those environments, and thus that also increases their confidence, I guess, is really important from my standpoint.
Yeah.
No, you did
No,
not hijack the question. It was beautiful. And I want to emphasize two things you said that I believe in wholeheartedly. First of all, if your friends don't look like a stew of gumbo, a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
that's a problem. And then as far as the age, again, it should be a little bit of everything. I remember coming into the workforce, being in my 20s, getting to know women who were, 40s and 50s, and they were like
Exactly.
mentors or just, kind of, I just think it's crazy. And some people be like, what am I going to do with some friends in their 30s and 20s? Why not? I mean, you can learn from each other. I know in my 20s and 30s, I was very mature, especially in my 20s. I mean, I've always
Yeah.
been like an old child, if you will. So I've
That's
always had older
because we
friends. But
raised ourselves, Nicole. Like literally,
yes,
we were like
yes.
30 when we were 13. That's why.
right.
But I just think it's important to have friends in your life from all generations. I think if you're stuck on it, and again, if you just get in this, if you're going to be that old person on the porch and yelling at everybody, it's going to mess you up. So yes, so I definitely believe that. I love that. All right, Portia. So we have a little something for you, and not only for you as our guest, but also for those who are watching. You can play along at home or wherever you are. But we have a little game where we want you to finish the sentence. So it's going to be basically, me and Christina are going to throw out stuff, and then we need you to finish. So the first one is confidence is
liberating.
All right.
I love that.
Okay. Next, how about one thing I had to let go of was?
One thing I had to let go of was worrying about what other people think of me. I don't care. I don't care what people think of me. That's a very, by the way, very hard one, but
Yes.
very, very essential.
Yeah. When I show up fully, I feel.
When I show up fully, I feel magnetic and illuminating. I just feel like I'm fully myself, and like I'm just like a bright ball of sunshine. Which probably sounds kind of corny, but it is how I feel.
I'm all for the corny. How about I am most powerful when?
I am most powerful when I am fully embracing who I am, right? So we've been talking about confidence and impact, and I think when you really begin to understand the answer to the question, who am I? That is when like everything unlocks. That is like that is the unlock question for everything, I believe. Very much.
Nice. All right. A reminder I give myself when I feel small is.
A reminder I give myself when I feel small is there's always tomorrow. And I'm always learning. I'm not always going to get it right, but I'm going to keep going. Always.
That's awesome. That's
What
awesome.
great
I love
answers, Portia. Yeah, this has been such an amazing. I wish we had even more time. Nicole, I'm thinking, are there
Thanks for
more
having me.
questions we can ask Portia? Because I'm learning so much, and I know the audience, anyone tuning in now live or later, is certainly going to want to kind of pull from many of these gems. So, Portia, where can people continue to learn more about you and like maybe dive into some of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely follow me on LinkedIn. You'll see me over there with my hot takes, and I'm going to be definitely doing a lot more hot takes. And so please follow me over on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Instagram. Actually, I'm very, very active on Instagram as well at Portia Mount. You'll see not only my hot takes on, professional life. I'm a sports mom too. So I always got a lot to say about kids sports and stuff. And everything other things that happen. I did, scary movies. I still haven't, y'all, I'm a scaredy cat and I still haven't seen Sinners yet. I got to wait till Sinners comes on the small screen
No,
because
I'm
I'm a scaredy cat. I
Portia,
am.
I'm
I
the
really,
same way.
it is. It's like, it's not normal. And I have learned, I just accept that about myself that I can't watch scary movies in a big theater. And so, so you'll get a mix of professional Portia. You'll get some hot takes on just life and how to survive scary movies. Of course, I love it. Please do listen to my podcast, Ungovernable Women. And I'll be coming out with a newsletter soon too. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll learn more about that. And that's really going to be about a lot of the lessons I'm learning. I'm sharing from my work with C-level leaders, coaching new first-time CEOs and C-level leaders. So lots of just fun stuff. So follow me, connect with me, DM me. I'd love to hear from you.
And as you can tell, Portia is the most sincere, nice. I mean, she's just one of those people. I appreciate you so much because when I first reached out to you, and we all know how it is. You reach out sometimes to people on LinkedIn, you don't know the response you're going to get. Right off the bat, I felt like you were an instant friend. She was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And this was a while ago, just on another podcast. So I just appreciate you for just being really genuine.
Thank you. I love it. Oh, there's a question here from
Yes.
Tapu Chandra Mojumdar. Hi. What steps do I usually take to prepare for the next? Can I answer that, or do I have to
Yeah,
type it?
please.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
you're good.
Yeah. So this is, I'm actually pretty regimented in terms of planning. I start planning for the week on a Sunday. I look at the whole 2 weeks, and then I look at what's due. This is a little crazy. I have asana, and because I am an entrepreneur and I've got multiple clients, I'm usually looking at, there's a few things I focus on. One is what is really important that I need to get done this week. Both in the short term and the long term. I always also plan my exercise. This piece is really important. So like I'm always thinking about when do I have enough time to exercise, and that is in my calendar as well. And then I'm also thinking about my downtime. So and then at the end of every day, I will look at my calendar and look at my planner and see what what's been accomplished, what do I need to push off, and most importantly, what did I commit to that I can actually eliminate too? I feel like most of us don't take enough stuff off of our calendar. So
Yeah.
I'm always in an edit mode there to see, like, does this really need my time? Is this value added for me or for my family? So that's just an ongoing process. And then I, like I said, the other thing is I try to make sure that every day I have a little bit of downtime too. That's really important. I feel like we're living in this time where we're just go, 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 go. And people are burning out from that. So even when you love what you do, it's easy to burn out. So that's how I think about my day, my days. And, I could go on, do a whole riff on goal setting, but, that's kind of the sort of the short version of what I do.
I love that because I know for me, my day has to end by the time my son gets off the bus. And if I happen to do something afterwards, whatever, but that's like my cutoff time. So that's really important to me.
That's good.
So
Yeah, I think that's really good boundaries. And I find that a lot of the leaders I work with struggle with listen, most of us could work all the time if we wanted to, and especially if you're in business for yourself, or you just have a side hustle or whatever. And so like creating some boundaries is something that I find that I have to work really hard at it. And a lot of the leaders I work with, they struggle to create appropriate boundaries around their work. So, and kids stopping saying, hey, I'm going to stop. My kid gets off the bus. You're not going to hear from me, or I'll jump back on in 2 hours or whatever. Those things, and communicating that. I think the more of us who did that, the more other people would feel comfortable saying, hey, listen, I got a thing for my, I'm dog training, or I'm taking my kid to
Yeah.
practice. You won't hear from me. More of us need to do that, to model that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you cannot deny a fourth grader his snack. I'm just putting that out there.
No,
So,
ma'am. No more. Yeah, listen. I think adults need snacks, Nicole. I think we need snacks and naps. Like, listen, there would be a lot less just foolishness if more people had snacks and naps. I truly believe
yeah,
that.
yeah. And maybe even in the other order, I'm all down with naps and snacks.
Naps.
So
Yes.
however,
Yeah, naps. That's exactly right. I personally could skip a few snacks, but I will take a nap all day long. Absolutely. I could skip the snacks, but naps, I sign me up. Sign me up for that.
Portia, I love your point about it really reclaiming your time and your energy,
Yes.
right? So reprioritizing even commitments that you've made. I That is certainly one of the takeaways I'm going to be pulling from this conversation. Is that Portia told me that I can actually say, listen, I know I told you I was going to do that, but that's going to have to wait,
If it's
right?
not
Because
a
I'm
hell
reclaiming.
yes, it's a no. Like, this is my big thing. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. So anything that's not a hell yes, say no to it. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
love
right.
it.
I truly believe this is like a mantra I live by. So
Yeah,
use it.
because
Please use it,
and the
everyone.
reason And the reason can be because I need my nap and my snacks, okay?
I need You're right,
So,
because I'm tired. You can be like, I'm just tired. I'm done. I'm done. I'm tired.
yeah,
Yes, that is absolutely a legit answer. I am exhausted and I'm taking some downtime. Again, I wish more leaders would say, I'm really
Yes.
tired and I need to rest. And so I am going to exit out of some commitments to allow myself more rest. Like, I want to see more leaders doing that, because I think other people would follow suit, and we'd have a lot healthier work cultures if we did that.
Yeah.
And we would
that's
still be
right.
really productive too. That's the other thing. We would be productive.
Yeah. Well,
Agreed,
Portia, thank
right?
you again for being part of this moment,
Thank you for
providing
having
today's
me.
boost. Hopefully, everybody out there has enjoyed a little caffeine or a little something's in your cup. Again, no judgment here. And Christina, you want to let everybody know who's coming up for tomorrow?
Oh, yes. So this week, I mean, I'm not sure how to follow up this discussion with Portia today. But definitely follow Portia on all the platforms. All the links will be in the comments. And tomorrow we've got Ronnie Dickerson Stewart, who's going to be joining us and dropping some gems around confidence. How do we get there? How do we continue to, leverage this on a daily basis? So we're going to keep the fire going. And Portia, thank you so much for starting us off.
Thanks for having me.
Our week. Absolutely. Caffeine and confidence. Let's keep going. This is not a
Yeah,
thing that only starts one time a day, one time in time. This is a daily occurrence, and everyone who's tuned in, I hope you recognize that this is something that we all struggle with. So, Nicole, back to you.
yeah, no, I just want to end with this. Remember that confidence isn't something we're handing out like a party favor. It's something we help you remember. It's not about being loud. It's about being clear. It's about being present and showing up. And Portia talked about all that today, especially when it's hard. So if today reminded you of who you are, then we did our job. So thank you so much for being here. You belong in this space, and keep shining. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Portia.